He was committed to pull out of Vietnam. By October, he had signed a document, NSAM 263, to that effect. 1,000 troops home by Christmas, and all personnel out of Vietnam by 1965. But that wasn't very good for the military-industrial complex. Is abolishing the Central Intelligence Agency, pulling their teeth, holding them to task, back to why they were originally created by Truman. Their original mandate by law is only to coordinate intelligence, not to create the Bay of Pigs. NSAM 55 told the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff that the CIA no longer can do that, and any military operation has to come directly from them to the president, period. That kind of a document really causes problems.
But Texas was home to Kennedy's most dangerous opponents.
Oil millionaires and billionaires in Texas were petrified of one major factor that John F. Kennedy was considering, cutting the oil depletion allowance. And there was no way they were going to allow that. Essentially, they would save billions of dollars if it stays as it is. It was called a 27.5% oil depletion allowance. John Kennedy thought it was too liberal. One of the key men in this case is Clint Murchison. Clint Murchison is an oil millionaire, owned 500 companies, but he was primarily an oil millionaire. He also controlled Texas, controlled Johnson. Another associate of Murchison at the time is Bobby Baker. Bobby Baker's in trouble with the scandals, and he was in all kinds of business deals with Murchison, and many of them were illegal. So Murchison was concerned that Baker and that corruption would lead to his door. And maybe not only would Baker go to jail and Lyndon go to jail, but maybe Murchison would go to jail.
As the forces hostile to Kennedy grew in strength and number, they began to think the unthinkable: assassination. Finally, a new imperative forced their hand.
Lyndon Johnson was in big trouble. The Bobby Baker scandal and the Billy Celeste scandal could destroy Lyndon Johnson's career. Lyndon Johnson would go to jail, and he was their man. He represented all these right-wing forces. There was an urgency to kill President Kennedy. They had to save Lyndon Johnson. The governor of Texas, first of all, is Lyndon Johnson's best friend in history. They went back decades together. In the 1948 vote scandal, John Connally was every much a part of that cover-up that took place. He was his campaign manager. It is, without question, John Connally who entices John F. Kennedy to Texas. Once they get him there, then they're in control of everything. The motorcade routes, the evidence, the Dallas police.
There's Mrs. Kennedy, and the crowd yells, "And the President of the United States."
And as I walked in the door, they were already on the television that he had been shot. So I asked if I could use the phone. I called. I knew if anyone knew anything, it would be just Kellum and Austin, because they carried all three networks. So I called Jess and I said, "What is going on?" First I called Lou Sterrett at downtown, and I said, "My God, what has happened, Lou?" And here are people that should have been out at the Trademark for the luncheon, but they were still downtown. And he said, "Well, they just shot that SOB."
According to Miss Brown, Clint Murchison's home was the site of a large party on 21 November 1963 that concluded in a meeting after Lyndon arrived to solidify the plan to kill JFK the next day. A house servant and a chauffeur who worked for the Murchisons also commented on this party afterwards. This is where Miss Brown says Lyndon showed his pre-knowledge of the murder.
Let's go back to the night before. When Johnson came out of the meeting, what did he say to you?
He was so angry. He had a violent temper when he was upset.
Well, let's use the exact words that he said to you. What did he say to you?
He grabbed me by the arm, and he had this deep voice, and he said, "After tomorrow, those SOBs will never embarrass me again. That's no threat. That's a promise." And it startled me, really, you know, because he was so ruddy-faced. I thought, oh, well, he really, something went on that shouldn't have gone on.
I personally feel is the fact Lyndon Johnson knew about the assassination and was a part of it.